Thanks for checking out guardiansofthegreenberet.com. Today we present Steven Morales. He was sent to us back in May of 2019 after claiming to be a staff sergeant in Special Forces in a Cherokee Nation color guard that he was commander of. We actually have a picture of him wearing a combat infantry badge with a star on it, when in truth he was separated from the Army after exceeding the height to weight ratio and being reduced in rank twice. He got out a private E2. But there's 3 sections to this video. The first 40-second section is him in his fake costume at a graveside memorial giving a speech. Then about a minute conversation we had with him before he hung up on us. And then about an 8-minute section where he explains the rigorous training he went through in selection, which he never attended. But without further ado, here is Steven Morales in his own words. Out here.
I flatlined. They had we call a video and vehicle drop-off. My medic, Marvin Soriano, only 130 pounds. I was with the 3rd Group, 3rd Special Forces Group, 2nd Battalion Bushwhackers out of Fort Bragg. Once it happened, I couldn't talk like this before, guys, without getting, having a reaction. It's took me a lot to get to where I am, to be able, and being around fellow veterans, regardless of the area we serve, it's easy.
Now what follows is the 1-minute conversation we had with him before he hung up on us.
Hello?
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Morales,
Who is this?
Guardians of the Green Beret.
Yes, sir.
Is this Steven Morales?
If you can call back in a few days, then I'll have him here.
That sounds exactly like you.
Yep.
Okay, then your answer didn't make sense.
Well, I just need a few days, and I'll talk to you.
Okay, we really don't have a 2 days.
I will apologize because, I apologize, and I say I'm sorry, and
Okay, will you answer a couple of questions as agreed to?
I'll answer them right now. Just say that, yes, you're right, I didn't. I was not a Green Beret. There you go, and I'm sorry. The reason why I did that was pressure from shit growing up and trying to find a run from shit to make myself feel better about who I was because of the shit that I went through. And there you go. And that's the only answer I can give.
All right. Is it correct? We're looking at your records. You were reduced in rank twice and booted from the Army for... Man, he hung up. Now what follows is about 8 minutes of him describing going through selection, not making the standards, but being selected anyways because he was such a team player. After that, go to our website and check out his fake Q course certificate with a typo in it and a 1st Group flash, which would never happen that way, and his absolutely atrocious fake DD-214, where if you look at his date of birth versus when he entered the service, he would have been 12 years old. He forgot to change that date. He's been charged with felony uttering as he used this fake document to try and get some Purple Heart license plates, and he's still going through the system. Whether he actually does time or not depends on if he fulfills what he was asked to do, and so far he's not come close to that. So we'll update the article as he goes through the system.
In airborne school, my platoon sergeant, Sergeant First Class Clark, took special interest in me, and he asked me to participate in a program called the SFAS, which is the Special Forces Assessment Selection. I didn't know what it was, to be honest with you. I went in, and on the last part of our phase for selection is a 36-mile ruck march, which 80 to 100 pound rucksack that you have an undisclosed time limit to finish, but they tell you have to be finished under 24 hours. Well, I had about 4 to 5 miles left, and I'd already failed the time. I failed the test. And so you hear stories of people always talking themselves up, trying to blow their chest out. I did this, I did that. Guys, to be honest, I got selected after failing. I was walking in 2 miles left of the 36-mile ruck march. My battle buddy was on the side of the ditch, and he had his rucksack off, and I said, "What's wrong with you?" He said, "Man, my legs hurt." And so we had a 550, which is a parachute cord bracelet. But I took it off, and I tied his rucksack frame, which some of you veterans remember our old Alice packs was in metal frames. So I tied his rucksack to mine, and I tried to lift it up, but I couldn't. And so I dragged his, with his help, of course. I didn't do it the whole thing, like that, but between him and me together, I carried my bag, he drug his, and he was able to walk and finish the remaining of the 2 miles. I remember telling him, I said, "Brother, you have to finish this. If you go back without your equipment, those black hats are going to bring you a new one." And he was like, you're right, let's do it. So we worked together and we made it happen. When we went across the line, I can remember the green hat, and he looked at us and he said, "No go, go." And I argued with him because no go means you're a no-go, you didn't pass. You go over there, which he pointed at my buddy. Me, he said, "Go." And told me to go over here. So I went over there, and I was standing, and I was just looking around, and I said, "I didn't pass." I said, negative sign, I didn't pass. And then the one thing that he pointed out to me that really helped me, he said, "Son, look around." And there was a guys, big, buff, like extreme fit, that they had ran through it almost in record time, set record time for the Warfare Center and for selection, beating records. But in the meantime, they were passing up everybody else because they only had their own personal agenda and they didn't care for the team. When you're in the group, you have to look after one another, because if you look after just yourself, it's not conducive with the mission, and you're going to fail. And that's what got me selected, was that I picked up my brother, not picked him up, but helped let him walk across. Not because I was big and strong, because I failed the test. And that's what I make sure I point out to everybody, that I didn't pass because I was faster than them. Technically I was slower than them. But I passed because I was selected because I lifted my brother up so that he could complete. Now fast forward a little bit, a few years later, I was assigned, after I graduated at the SFQC, I was assigned to the 3rd Special Forces Group, 2nd Battalion, where our operational theater was AFRICOM, where I had deployed to Haiti, Iraq, and Afghanistan, or Afghanistan, then Iraq, in that order. My first 2 tours, I seen some things, but nothing really happened to me. My last tour, we were outside of a small village called Mamoudiya in Baghdad, what they called during that time, which was a triangle of death, which involved Najaf, Taji, and Baghdad. Now, we were first going on, I was a squad leader, and I had a 7-man detail. Now, the 7-man detail, initially, we were on the SKT. And I'm not going to go over too much of the details just because some of the terminology may be hard for y'all to understand too. But we were in a wedge formation. Understand what a wedge formation is. Usually the one who has the most amount of rank needs to take point. And now I know that it's sad to say it this way, but it's usually because they're the least experienced. And then the more experienced soldiers are going to be out on the outside of the wedge formation to make sure they can control and see more of what the least experienced soldiers see. This particular soldier, and I won't say his name for whatever reason y'all understand, he had just had a baby and bought a duty-free Harley Davidson overseas. Well, me, I didn't have any kids. I didn't really care about riding a motorcycle. And so I felt I had already did enough funeral details of soldiers of mine that had passed. I didn't hear to do nothing. So I switched his position to the outside wedge. Or instead of where I was in the outside wedge, I took the point and let him take the outside wedge. In doing so, I couldn't realize the problem, but he had stepped on something called a pressure plate IED. The pressure plate IED was actually a rebar that was about 6 feet long, as metal plates that had thin copper wiring put through the middle of it. And they stacked tree bark in between the ends so that whenever you would step on it, the pressure of the metal would hit that wire and it would explode. The homemade advice they did was left over from ordnance from the Russian Cold War from the 80s that they had used to make a crude, approximately 2,000-pound homemade explosive buried underneath a culvert. The shrapnels that I have on my body isn't from the metal, but it's from the rocks that had embedded in me. After this happened, I was on the way to doing great things with my military career until this particular thing happened, and then I had a hard time being able to lead the way I needed to lead because everything changed for me like that. I went from being in a leadership position to not being able to handle certain things mentally because of the PTSD that I just got inflicted on me, that I was medically retired from the Army. I did not do a full 20 years. When they see I'm retired, it's because I was medically retired with full honors after I was rewarded my Purple Heart. After I retired, I had a degree. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration. But even with that degree, I wasn't able to sit down like I am now. And even before, guys, if I try to say any of that story I just said, it would have been bad. And it still bothers me, but by me making jokes, it's kind of been a way to help me, if that makes sense. Years of going through not being able to know what was even wrong with me, I didn't even know what PTSD was. I got out of the military, tried to get in and get a job, and I kept getting fired because I couldn't handle no offense, but I couldn't handle civilians not being told what they need, not being told what they're supposed to do without asking questions. You know, that's the military. I mean, if I tell you to do something, you just do it. Don't ask a question, just hop up and do it. You know, like we do our kids. You know what I mean?